Welcome to Edge Unscripted. Listen along for candid conversations with the Edge marketing team on a variety of subjects in the world of PR and marketing and other topics that have our attention. Let's go off script.
Spring is in the air. It's a season of renewal, which makes it a great time for us to have a conversation about embracing change. So without further ado, let's get started. So spring, though, is a season of renewal, season of change. And I think we've been talking a lot lately about change, a lot of different aspects of change, not just, the landscape that's about to change, winter to green and flowers blooming, which is all lovely. But I think we're just going through a cycle in the business world right now, seeing so much change.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Everything is about how you adapt, how you adapt to change. I feel like everything around us is just strictly focused on that lately. So it's always top of mind. And I feel like before
It
that,
is.
people were a bit afraid of change and still are. So it's crazy that that's everything that's talked about today.
Right. And there's such an emphasis, I feel, on the tools or the technology
Mm-hmm.
that are the change, and maybe not enough emphasis on change management and just individuals and teams, working groups having the right attitude and approach about the, how they deal with change, whether or not they're embracing it or trying to fight it is such a big thing across, businesses, industries, all around us, right? In our personal lives and in our work lives for sure. Mary and I were at a conference
Mm-hmm.
last week, and I thought I was really excited. As you know, we were treated to a wonderful keynote address. I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
wonderful.
Oh, I thought it was great as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rob Lowe talked about reinventing yourself and turning setbacks into opportunities, but really he spent a lot of time talking about embracing change. I thought he had some really great messages that are so applicable to all of us in, again, our work lives, our personal lives. He talked about saying yes
Mm-hmm.
more often than saying no, taking advantage of opportunities to do new things. I
Yeah.
thought, that was one of my big takeaways, where he was just, not afraid to try new things, even when it might be a little bit of a risk.
Yeah, I agree. And they had prompted him with a question about AI and what he thinks of everything with that. And I liked what he said. It's the Industrial Revolution on steroids. It is just time is changing. Everyone's changing with the times, but at a faster speed, and we don't know what's to come. I mean, he said you can't ignore it. You should embrace it. So, like you said, you need to just embrace the change. It's not something that you can ignore anymore, I don't think. Every conference is fully centered around AI. I feel like every booth, every session, everything you go to at most of these conferences, especially in the industries that we work in, everything is
Right.
focused on AI. It's just been the big thing. I think the past, at least this year and the fall, last year, was AI was a
Right.
big, big focus. So yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be embraced.
Oh, for sure. And I think, for a lot of companies, it's about carving out their space and figuring out, well, how can we use AI to either improve what we're doing in our own house
Mhm.
or in what we're delivering to our customers and our clients, whether it's a product or service,
Mhm.
to use AI to improve what you're doing. And
Mhm.
so there's, you know, this whole emphasis on that aspect, figuring out how you're going to do it and carve out your little niche and be able to convey to your target audiences that you are offering AI, that you are with the times, and you're
Mhm.
modern, and you're approaching the work with modern tools and technology, which I think is really is really important. But then also the, kind of the softer skills that we talked about with people just having the willingness to learn about it. I thought a lot of the sessions, not just in the conference we were at, a lot of the events that I'm looking at
Mm-hmm.
um, across industries have so much educational content, both about specific applications
Mm-hmm.
and, where people are learning about use cases, but also, managing teams and helping to implement in a way that is really focused more on change management and getting people comfortable and understanding what it is and comfortable using it.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is a hot topic, change management. I feel like last year was the introduction of AI, and then now this year it's how do we manage it, adapt, and move forward with it to our benefit. Everyone needs to
Yeah.
figure out how to implement that and also just get your team on board. So some people may be a little more comfortable with the decision. It's making it a cohesive transfer to AI in some ways. So it's definitely a hot topic. And I'm curious if it will remain to be the hot topic for next year's conferences. I mean, I know it's probably going to continue through the conferences for this year, but who knows? Next year could be AI continuation or something different.
I think it will. I mean, I think it will because I think it will continue to evolve.
Hmm.
And the more people learn about it and adopt it, use it for, have practical application of it, I think we'll see people talk about it with more and more confidence and understanding what they're doing. And I think that will only spur an additional innovation in
True.
how it can be used. But I also think it feels really monumental right now because it is. I
Hmm.
think it's, undeniably a really major change. But also, you know, I also think that it's not something we haven't experienced before. I mean, I should be careful. I'm of a generation where we have had, other monumental changes. I was out of college and working when I was first introduced to email and
Hmm.
the internet, and those things felt explosive. Smartphones felt explosive. And I remember, Mary, I was probably around your age when I got my first like mobile phone. It wasn't even a smartphone, it was a flip phone.
Yeah.
Um, or Blackberries, right? Like that, it feels like it was a long time ago. But those were really monumental changes that really had a significant impact on how we do business.
Yeah.
And just, I remember at the time people talking about how you would do things more efficiently, and people who didn't embrace it risked being left behind.
Hmm.
So it's not the first time we've had a really big innovative moment in our lives, and it won't be the last. I don't know that, and I certainly don't have the imagination to envision what the next big change is going to
Me
be
either.
20 years from now, but
Exactly.
there will be something, right?
Yeah. It's just with time, I think everything is moving more rapidly now than it was a few
Yeah.
years back. So it's just, you never know how quick things will change again. But I agree. I do think AI will continue to evolve and change, and we'll just have to keep learning as it does. So it's
Yeah.
just
And I
about.
think it's really, keeping that open-mindedness and a
Mhm.
positive attitude, no matter what it is, because I think this whole idea, you can't fight it. So
No.
you have to just get on board, and you don't want to be in the camp that's being dragged along, kicking and screaming, because that's not
Yeah.
going to be helpful to anyone, right? I mean, I think, and it's all around. We see it. It's not just about, um, using AI in our lives, right? It's so much of the world is changing so fast. I was reading something just yesterday about the music industry,
Mm.
and how much it's changed, and how the young artists that have really embraced streaming, and that they're producing music in really not traditional ways, is not the way it was produced even 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So the artists that are, you know, taking it, embracing this new way of producing their music and getting it, sharing it with the world through the streaming services. They're achieving a lot of success a lot faster than some of the artists who really had to just scrape and claw for years and years and work
Hmm.
with these big recording studios and stuff to try and get radio time for
Yeah.
their songs. And it's a whole different thing today. And it's funny when you take a step back and look at a bigger picture.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something else that Rob Lowe talked about when he was saying how he was a movie star in the 80s, right? He was
Mhm.
somebody who was on the silver screen. He was in all these prominent movies. That's what people really knew him for. And he
Exactly.
took kind of a risk by deciding to do a television series. And I remember him talking about how some of his movie star friends were like, buddy, what are you doing? That's not going to be good for your career. And
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's because he had the foresight or some good luck or was just willing to take the risk at the time. And what did he say? He's consistently been in a television series every single year for like the past 20 plus years.
Yeah. Yep.
Amazing.
And even recently, it's a game show, which
Yeah. Yeah,
very,
he talked
very
about that.
off-putting for him. And I've been seeing that game show everywhere. And I thought it was very interesting because some people do start hosting shows, but I never anticipated it to be him. And seeing him as a game show host, I mean, he has a great personality for it. It's totally fitting, but it's just something you never would have pictured because of his past projects that he's been on. It's never really been in the
Right.
scope of what he's done. So it's just very interesting to see he's embracing change in different ways too. So,
Yeah. And it was that mentality you talked about was saying, yes, we got this opportunity. And it was
mhm.
like, wait, what, a game show? Well, why not? Right? Like
Yeah,
there's why say no to it? Don't, pigeonhole yourself into something because
great
it's
point.
what you've always done.
Uh-huh.
And I think that was just sort of an overriding theme to everything he was talking about was, you're kind of the master of your own path and you get to pick it. But if you're somebody who chooses to just stay sort of stuck and not embrace all the change in the world around us,
Hmm.
you you could be left behind. And in fact, in the movie industry, movies are not, they aren't the same big box office
Mm-mm.
projects that happen as regularly anymore. It's really all about the series on the streaming networks and such. And so, I think that that's just another example. And again, the entertainment industry is something entirely different. I don't know anything about it, but you can
Oh, no.
see how different it is. And it makes you realize that I think it doesn't matter what world you work in. Maybe you're in the medical field or you're in the, you know, aerospace field. It doesn't matter. Like there's so much change.
Yeah, you're right. every
Yeah.
every industry field of work is being affected, and it just goes to show that you can't ignore it, you can't not be affected by it. It's just inevitable at this point. So like he says, you shouldn't ignore it, you should embrace it. So I
Yeah.
completely agree on that front.
And I think you have to be smart about it. There's something early adopters, I think, have to be really smart about how they uh, gravitate toward or try to push it too hard, too fast.
Hmm.
Um, but and you also could get lost in the hype. I think people sometimes jump on things prematurely. Some companies might release tools or platforms before they're entirely ready,
Yeah.
which could be a problem, right? I think that patience is important, but also just flexibility and kind of being able to pivot or just kind of take things as they come. I think talk about change, just the business climate overall and the political climate and how decisions being made that most of us have no control over,
Oh, yeah,
but we're going to have to adapt, right?
exactly.
We're going to have to just figure it out. Um, as things are moving very quickly and we don't have all the answers, we don't know what direction they're going. I feel like it's just another example of having more questions than answers at any given point in time.
Hmm.
But we need to be able to, you know, keep an open mind and try and be flexible and just
Yeah.
adaptable, figure it out as we go.
Yeah, I agree. It just you need to be prepared and obviously have plan A, plan B, and be ready to just adapt to the change as we go. Being prepared is better than not being prepared, and having questions is you're not going to have the answers, so you should just be prepared for any of those to go either way. And unfortunately, it's going to be inevitable. Depending, doesn't matter which direction it goes. So embracing the change and being prepared is the best thing that you can do at this point in time. But like you said, being flexible with your expectations, you can't just assume anything right now. Flexibility is
Right.
probably the key factor in that regard.
I think you're right. And I think the other one that I try and remember is like we all should be open and willing to learn new things, but at the same time, I think use it as an opportunity to really lean into what your skills already are and how you can apply them to something new. I was thinking about
Mm-hmm.
this the other day, just with regard to how much our world as communicators has changed in the world of marketing and public relations. It looks so much different
Oh,
from what it
yeah.
was a few decades ago. The channels that are at our disposal and the types of content and multimedia and things that are at our disposal to that we use to communicate with people, it's all looks so very different. But that doesn't mean that all of the underlying principles behind it have changed.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who has spent your life as a copywriter, and maybe you wrote long form content, or maybe you were a copywriter in an advertising agency, or you know where you were producing different types of output, all of those skills are still applicable. The general principles that informed how you did what you did
Mm-hmm.
are largely still the same. You might just now be writing posts for social media channels, or you might be writing, maybe it's some other kind of content that's digital and not print media.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that, where I think that you can again kind of lean into what your skills are, what you're really good at, and figure out how to apply them in the modern world of marketing communications, because it does look different, but what we're trying to achieve is largely still the same, I think.
Yeah, you still have the same end goal. It's just how you use those skills. And I completely agree. I mean, even with our clients, lots of publications are now online. I don't know many print left. I feel like I don't even know if I've read a newspaper in the past few years. Everything is so digital. And then social media, you're right. You can totally use those skills. It is, your skills are versatile. It's just how you use them. And you're totally right. It's taking that and applying it to the change that is happening.
Yeah. And really, I think recognizing where do we actually do have room for improvement in so many
Mhm.
ways. I think about marketing automation systems, right? Like the data we're able to capture and how we're able to leverage it to work a lot smarter,
Mm,
to do a lot of segmentation with what we're sending out to our various audiences, which is so much better for our clients, for our
yeah.
contacts, for whether you're consumers or you're in business, the people that we're aiming to reach. If the if the people driving the marketing engines behind it all are smart and know what they're doing, they should be segmenting what you get and who you get, so that you're not inundated with a bunch of information and messaging that is of absolutely no value to you. So leveraging some of those automation tools that are out there today is so important, because it's really going to make you stand out from your competitors. If you're the organization or the company that's only reaching out to people when it's relevant to them, or with offers that are relevant to them, you certainly will stand out more than the ones who are inundating audiences with a bunch of meaningless stuff. That's where I unsubscribe,
Yeah.
constantly unsubscribing to things, thinking, where did these people get my information? I think if you're a company that's using it wisely, using the data you have to reach people in a smarter way, and certainly AI can be a part of that. It's very smart. It's
Yeah,
called intelligence for a reason, right?
true. And you can even take the same message you're trying to get across, but change it a bit to tweak it toward that audience. So you can segment the same prompt message that you want to send out, but gear it more towards them and get a reaction out of that as well. So selling something, you can sell something and just message it differently to a different audience, and it can totally change the outcome just by tweaking it to
Sure.
that audience and segment. So, which has always been a thing, but like you said, with technology, it's much easier, and automation, it's much easier to do that than it would have been 10 years ago. I mean,
Right.
everything has automation now and intelligence and reporting. And I feel like everything I do it has cookies too. Everywhere I go, it asks if I want to use cookies and accept that, or you know what I mean? You can collect data and segment so much more easily now with all of the technology advances. So it's very interesting to see everything come
Well,
into.
and and don't be afraid to use the, testing that's available, right? So you can
Oh yeah.
test different messages to different audiences so that as, to your point, Mary, as you're tailoring those messages to the different segments, test them out. Do A/B testing as much as you can to figure out what are the headlines that get their attention? What generates clicks? What gets them to engage and follow through on that call to action that you put out there. you know, Take the time to figure out what's working, and you
Mhm.
can use all of that data so much. I mean, what we have at our fingertips today to market to people is so much smarter and so much more efficient, can be so much more impactful than
Oh,
anything I ever imagined when I started doing this kind of work so many years ago. It's such an entirely different thing. And also not being afraid of multimedia channels. I think a
yeah.
lot of people still shy away from audio and video content because I don't like my voice, I don't like how I look on camera, or that video is too hokey if it's done, if there's some animation with it or whatever. And yeah, there's a way to do it well and make it really professional, but don't let perfect be the enemy of the good or the good enough. Or sometimes it's just good to get out in front of the people that you want to talk to,
Yeah.
and it feels a lot more authentic when you just feel like you're real and you're not AI generated everything, right? You
Oh,
want it to be honest and authentic as much as you can.
for sure. And you can always work on perfecting and seeing what works with the testing and everything like that. Perfection will come, or almost perfection will come. It's just testing that out and putting out there what you think you need to just to get started. There needs to be a starting point for something every time you do anything new. You have to start somewhere. So just getting out there and doing what you think is best for the time being, perfection will come with that over time.
You know, that's such a good point because I just was reading a thing about, I think OpenAI is looking at introducing another version, a new
Oh my
chat
goodness.
GPT, chat GPT or something. And one of the people who was talking about it made an interesting point. They said, where people are still afraid of it, or they're kind of waiting to
Mm-hmm.
to see more use cases. They're waiting to see what's going to be next, or to have more validation about how it can be used for them. And the person was just making the point that you really have to stop waiting and being afraid of it, or waiting for that perfect
Mm-hmm.
version to come along, and that the best thing to do is just to sort of dive in and start playing with it. You're not going to learn how to use it. You're not going to figure it out and understand the best applications for your personal needs until you actually just roll up your sleeves and get in there and start using it and understand it and figure out all the ways that it might be relevant for you. And the more you get in and just sort of play around with it, the
Mm-hmm.
more you'll be able to find those practical applications and find efficiencies in your work by taking advantage of those tools that
Yeah.
are there.
Yeah, you're right. It's just being hands-on is the best way to learn, I think. You can read all you want, you can see different news articles and see how other people are using it all you want, but you got to try it for yourself to really know if you are learning from just listening. So I think I for sure am more of a hands-on. Once I start doing something, I learn better. So it's good to have the
Right.
research and the background information and still continue to do your research as you're using these tools, but getting yourself in there and putting your hands in there, getting hands-on is the best way to learn anything.
I totally agree. And I think that is, just kind of the a whole part of embracing it, of
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, whether it's the change of AI or, almost anything else, like really embracing it really requires that you kind of roll up your sleeves and get in there and start, using whatever it is or experiencing it,
Mm-hmm.
going the different place or doing the different thing is all part of the change that I think is just it helps you just grow as the more you learn and the more you become comfortable with. Now you just have built yourself an entirely new skill set that you didn't have before, right?
Exactly.
And I think it can open your eyes to a whole different part of the world or part of your life or part of your community or something that you weren't even aware of or didn't have as much interaction with before.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's the benefits of embracing that change, doing something different. And, sometimes change is really forced on us when we don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's in our personal lives. Maybe something changes in our family dynamics or in our community or something that has nothing to do with our work or AI or anything else, but just in general, in our lives, we all encounter change all the time. And the more you can accept it and embrace it and figure out how to move forward within that new landscape, whatever it is, I think the easier time that we typically will have
Mm-hmm.
just making the most of it moving forward and whatever that happens to be.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that is all that we have for today, talking about change. We may
I
need
think
to,
it is.
um, yeah, I think that everyone will have some takeaways from this episode. So I'm glad that we got to talk about everything today. And
Yeah,
we'll just
it's
have,
been great.
yeah, thanks
All
for
right.
joining us, everyone.
Yeah.
So that is a wrap on this episode of Edge Unscripted. Until next time, this has been Edge Unscripted. We appreciate you joining us and hope you enjoyed the conversation. Connect with us by leaving a comment and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.